Oh, it's happened now. It's happened more times than I've really kept track. And sometimes it happens in a store, or maybe it's out on a sidewalk in town, oftentimes at the post office when I'm there to get the mail. It happens over and over again. It's happened. Someone whose name I do not yet know, whose face I don't recognize, will approach me. And they'll kind of size me up, and then they'll ask me a question. It generally goes something like this: "You're that guy that takes pictures, right?" Even though they may not know my name, they've been exposed somehow to the photos that I share, via the internet. So that's how they know me. I'm the guy that takes those pictures. To many people, in fact, to most people, in a number of ways, I am known by what I've shown. In some cases, it is due to the photos that I share. In other times, it's Pastor Rick. Well, maybe to others who happen to go up and down 4th Street, I'm that guy that lives at the house where all them barking dogs are. And so on. Just a couple of weeks ago, as I was coming back from vacation, I was driving through Montana, and thunderstorms were going, and it was raining. It was kind of ugly. And I stopped to help a guy standing behind his car. The flashes were on and he was waving his arms. It was raining and I felt sorry for him. And I stopped and found out he was in a rental car. He ran out of gas 5 miles west of Miles City. And we exchanged names, and as I was driving to get him down so he could get some gas, and I've forgotten who his name is. I can't recall. So now I know him as that poor guy that ran out of gas on the interstate in Montana, out by Miles City on a rainy day. And I would imagine that he has forgotten my name as well, because he was under a little bit of stress at the time. But I'm pretty certain that he still knows me. He knows me as that one guy who stopped and helped him out when dozens of others' cars had gone whizzing by. I'm known by what I've shown to the people around me. And it's such a basic concept that we oftentimes overlook it, but it's true. It's true. People know us. They know us by what we show them. In the words that we say, in the things that we do, how we treat them when we interact with them. We are known by what we've shown. I'm not making this stuff up. This facet of human existence is true. We see an example of it today in our gospel lesson in a couple of ways. At the beginning of our lesson, we read that Herod the king heard about these things because the name of Jesus had become well known. Some were saying John the Baptist has been raised from the dead, and this is why miraculous powers are at work in him. And others were saying he's Elijah. Still others were saying he is a prophet like one of the ancient prophets. Jesus was well known. And he was known, or people knew him, or developed an understanding of who he was based on the words that Jesus said and the things that Jesus did. And generally, because of what Jesus had shown them, the people held Jesus in pretty high regard, right? They were kind of associating him with pretty good company, comparing him to the prophetic heroes of the past, or John the Baptist of that present age. He was in pretty good company. Jesus was known by what he had shown. And because he had shown good things, people saw or knew him in a favorable light, just as we see or know Jesus to this very day. We are known by what we've shown. For good or for ill. It's true. I invite you to think of how you see or know Herod, or Herodias, or her daughter, based on what we've read in the gospel accounts. How do you know them? How would you describe them to a friend? Based on what has been shown to you through their actions, do you know Herod and Herodias and her daughter as good and loving people? Eager to do good for those around them? Or do you know them as people with an appallingly low regard for the sanctity of human life. They're known by what they've shown. And what they've shown ain't pretty, so we don't really know them as being nice people, do we? Generally not. We are known by what we've shown. And we can all understand that truth. It's pretty basic. Right? We all get it. We are known by what we've shown. So now with that truth in mind, I invite you to consider this question. How are you known to the people around you, those with whom you come into contact? Based on your actions, are you known as being kind or generous or helpful? And those are pretty cool things. But people will only know those things about you if you actually are kind or generous or helpful. We're known by what we've shown. Or could it be that you may be known as somebody who's possibly difficult to get along with, hard to please, someone with a short temper or a sharp tongue, based on how you interact with others? And we have pretty good excuses, all of us, in our own minds for the way we act. But we are known to others around us by what we've shown. Are you known as someone who is eager to help out? Or someone who avoids work? You are known by what you've shown. So how do your neighbors know you? How do they know you? And as you ponder that question, I want to take it to the next step. Since we're known by what we've shown, how do our neighbors know this church? How do they know this church? Do they know us as friendly, loving, and welcoming people who are active in the life of the community around us? Or are we known as a congregation that keeps to itself? Yeah, we don't ever see very much of those guys. We know they gather, we see the cars, but that's all we see going on. Or worse yet, are we known as a church that stands in harsh judgment of non-members? We are known by what we've shown. Do people even know us at all? If a stranger walked into town today and he asked one of our neighbors out here about the Methodist church in this town, what could that neighbor tell him? Sometimes it's flattering, sometimes not so much. And a lot of you have already heard this story. I can still recall, this was well over 10 years ago, this was in February of 2008, and the district superintendent was giving me a tour of the parish. Found Candu Church all right, knew right where that was. Got to Rock Lake just fine, got up here and could not remember where the Methodist church was. Which embarrassed her to no small extent, because she liked to present herself as somebody who was really on top of things, intimately familiar with the goings-on in all of her churches, and here she didn't even know where the church was here. That kind of tells you something right there. So she looks around, we drive around a little bit, she's getting more and more embarrassed, more and more frustrated by the moment. Finally she spots some pedestrian. In desperation, she drives up to him, rolls down the window and says, "Do you know where the Methodist church is?" And he looks at her and says, "We got a Methodist church?" And as we were driving away, after she rolled the window up, she told me, "You've got work to do here." She was a little crabby by then. But we're known by what we've shown. How do people see, or how do they know this church? What have we done? What are we doing? What can we do so that our neighbors will see this church as a safe and caring and nurturing church? And you need to realize that when I speak of church, I'm not talking about this building that we're sitting in, because that's all it is. It's just a building. We, you and I, all of us, we are the church. And we are known by what we've shown. And with that understanding in mind, I invite each of you, I invite all of you to prayerfully consider just what it is that we can do, whether it be as individuals or as a congregation, become better known by those around us. How can we better share the love of Christ? If people aren't coming to us, how can we go out and bring the love of Christ to them? Where can we go? What can we do to help meet some of the basic needs within this community? How can we minister to those who might be right now, this very instant, struggling, kind of out there on the fringes of society? Is there a place where we can minister to young people or families with young children? What can we as individuals in a congregation do? And we are already doing some things, I know that. And I don't want to minimize those things. We do a wonderful job of interacting with the people who live over in the Parkview apartments. And we do a bang-up job of that. I think we do a wonderful job. I'm so proud of what we do there. But is that all we can do? Really? Or are there other ways? Other ways to go out and meet and interact with those who maybe can't easily get out and about, those who are maybe a little apprehensive about this whole scary church thing, because we got a lot of baggage, the church does, and it ain't all pretty. A lot of people see us as being judgmental and hypocritical and so forth, and so they're a little put off on that. They do not realize how wonderful this church family is. How can we get out to know them and interact with them so that they can see us for what we are, so that we can be known by what we have to show them? And what we have to show them is really quite wonderful. And I admit that I don't have all the answers. I don't. But God does. God has the answers for us. And if we earnestly seek God's guidance, if we open our hearts and our minds to what God will tell us, God will show us what we can do as individuals, as a congregation, to reach out to those who are lonely or lost or hurting in our community. We can't fix the whole world, but we can make a difference in the lives of those with whom we share Christ's love. We can make a difference in this community. We can make a difference as to how we are known by this community. Because I've been with you 10 years now. Do you realize that? 10 years. I know you. And I like what I know about you. We have an amazing church family here of loving and talented people. And it's a shame that others don't know this. So let's do what we can. Let's do what we can to seek God's help and to make use of His help in sharing His love in our world, so that our gracious God's life-changing, life-giving love may be known to all. We are known by what we've shown, and let us be known as people who share the love of Christ just as much and just as often as we can. Amen.